Well, thank you, Tom, for the invitation to be here with all of you. It's good to be here, to see friends, to see members of the Farmers Union across the country. I do want to say a word about Tom. He's a great friend, he's a great advocate, and we're going to miss him here at the National Farmers Union, but we look forward to working with him at Growth Energy to do what needs to be done on behalf of biofuels across the country, and we congratulate you on this new opportunity, Tom. And I also want to thank Senators Grassley and Klobuchar. It's great to have neighbors over there to the east. You know, South Dakota is sort of like half Iowa, Minnesota, and half Wyoming and Montana. If you've ever been to South Dakota, it's sort of half east, half west. But it was great during the Farm Bill debates to have such great advocates in both Senator Grassley and Senator Klobuchar, because as you know, a lot of the Farm Bill ends up being those of us in rural America versus everybody else, or it tends to be regional differences versus partisan differences, and it's an honor to be here on the panel with him today. I also want to acknowledge and thank for his leadership Doug Sampe, the president of the South Dakota Farmers Union. He's also a great friend, a native of Brown County, the same county from which I hail. Senator Daschle also is from Brown County, and some good friends of mine, Randy and Deb Kinneck and John Sumption, also from Brown County. We might even have a few other folks. We have to get down to the county level here in South Dakota when it comes to people you know and all the folks that we know across the state. But when you're acknowledging friends, you can't miss the people from your own county. And they do great work, as they have done for years, in working with me with the South Dakota Farmers Union Foundation that I headed up a few years back before I was elected to Congress. And of course, all of the folks that work with Doug, Bonnie, I know, is here. I get to see her here in the front, and Carla and so many others. But I just want to spend a couple of minutes, because I know we want to get to your questions, to share with you why I have wanted to become and have had opportunities to become a champion of biofuels and renewable energy for rural America. Now, I grew up on a family farm. My dad's still farming up there near Houghton, South Dakota. My brother and I played hide and seek in the cornfields. We sold sweet corn on the side of the road in town. We drove 30 miles to school. And we ran cross-country and track in 30 to 40 to 50 mile an hour winds. So growing up in rural America on a farm and with friends in the small public high school that I attended, whose families really struggled during the 80s and even during the 90s, when we saw the enthusiasm and the excitement about what was around the corner in new technologies to produce fuel from corn, and to harness the wind, and all of the struggles that we've had to invest against some market forces that didn't want ethanol to succeed, to develop wind in a way that is good for our communities and good for the rest of the country, despite challenges related to transmission capacity and financing, to now be at a point in our country's history and to be able to be in the policy arena to try to move forward what indeed is the future of our farms, what is indeed the future of rural America, the future for our youth, and the future of our country in renewable energy. I couldn't ask for anything more than to be a partner in policymaking with Senator Grassley, with Senator Klobuchar, and with each and every one of you to accomplish what we need to accomplish in the next year or two to make sure that our country is energy independent and we address the issue of global climate change in a way where we can be the leader in the world and agriculture can participate in any type of system we set up for a new, exciting carbon market if that's where we choose to go. We're building on some successes of just the last year. We're building on the successes of the Farm Bill when we included the Biomass Crop Assistance Program. We reauthorized the Renewable Energy for America program. We included loan guarantees, additional loan guarantees for biorefineries, and a forest biomass for energy program. We are building on the success of a 2007 energy bill that expanded the renewable fuels standard to historic proportions, but we can't get there if we don't address the challenges to corn ethanol today. We can't get to cellulosic and advanced biofuels without the bridge of corn ethanol. And that's why we have to include higher blends. We have to get to E15. We have to invest in more infrastructure for E85 and break down the barriers that continue to exist for the distribution of E85 across the country. We have to make sure that the Department of Energy and USDA are moving forward with those loan guarantees for advanced biofuels. We have to find clarity to the 3 different definitions of biomass that now exist in the energy bill and the farm bill and other legislation that's been passed in the 2 years that's caused a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace for investors and financing as it relates to cellulosic ethanol. We have to build on the production tax credit that we extended for 3 years and make more than just a down payment on modernizing our electric grid to harness the wind and get it to the more populated parts of the country. And we have to address the regulatory challenges that Senator Grassley spoke of and that Senator Klobuchar mentioned as well, and to be vigilant not only among those here in the room and not just the friends that you have in Congress, but to convince those that are new to this new administration, those that are in Congress on other committees of jurisdiction, that some of what's being discussed makes no sense for rural America. It makes no sense for creating jobs in this country. It makes no sense for clean energy, for clean water, for clean air. When you talk about, as Senator Klobuchar said, the first green jobs in America were those that work on our farms and our ranches across the country. And finally, let me just mention, because I think they go hand in hand, at least that's how I'm sensing it's going to go in the House of Representatives. I don't know what will happen in the Senate on climate change and energy legislation. But in the House of Representatives, the Energy and Commerce Committee is on track to try to pass a bill before the Memorial Day break that is both an energy bill and a climate change bill. And I and some of my colleagues on the Agriculture Committee in a bipartisan way over the last year and a half have been working with the National Farmers Union and farm organizations and commodity groups across the country to ensure that we harness the opportunities of a climate change bill, while at the same time acknowledging and highlighting the challenges that climate change legislation could pose for rural America. The challenges are, of course, given how heavily dependent we are on coal-fired facilities throughout the Great Plains and the Midwest, is that some of our consumers, if not all of our consumers, will see higher utility rates depending on how we structure the system. But the opportunities that it presents for advanced biofuels, for corn ethanol, for biodiesel, for wind, for solar are immense. And, as I mentioned, the opportunity to structure an offset system in a cap-and-trade policy where agriculture producers get a benefit. They can participate, whether it's through grazing practices and farming practices, whether it's already what we've seen in the voluntary marketplace with the leadership of the North Dakota Farmers Union and others across the country who've participated. Estimates going from $4 a ton to $30 a ton for sequestering carbon in our soils, in our forests. It represents a huge opportunity, but we have to insist that agriculture has a seat at the table in the committee markup process, in the debate on the floor, in the conference committee, or we aren't going to be treated fairly. I can read the tea leaves now. We have to be very aggressive, and the train's going to leave the station. I'm not sure we're going to get a climate change bill signed into law by the end of the year, but you see from the President's proposed budget that it is a priority for him, and we have to make sure that we know, we have to make sure that we seize the opportunities it presents at the same time coming to terms with the challenges that it may pose as well. But I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you very much, Tom. Thanks to all of you.